Tov, Boker Tov. Perhaps it's timely to review the Halachot of bringing little ones to shul, to Bet Knesset. So Mishnah Berurah brings in a few places different Halachot relevant to bringing little children to Bet Knesset. Obviously there's a range, it's not just one group, it depends on how young. But a few things that come up when it comes to Halacha are, number one, in Siman Tzadi Vav, Maran talks about that a person is not allowed to hold certain types of objects. According to Rav Avichai Bensoussan, it's really anything in his hands when it is the time of the Tefilla. Certain things are because the basic overall idea is that you're going to be preoccupied with these items, either because they're delicate or if they're going to fall down then they would cause harm, let's say a knife. So anything which is delicate, valuable, or harmful, one is not allowed to hold during the time of Tefillah. And Mishnah Berurah explains it's not just the Shemona Esrei, but also Psukei Zimna and Kriyat Shema as well, because we have a job to make sure that we are as focused as possible during the Tefillah, and holding something which would preoccupy us, distract us, is therefore Asur Lechatchila. And Mishnah Berurah brings in Duhadin, he quotes from the Pri Megadim, I believe it is, that Birkei Yosef Maran Chida, that it's prohibited to position a child, what he calls a tinok, lefanav b'shat ha-tefillah. One may not position or seat a baby before him during the tefillah, because that is something which is preoccupying and distracting. Yakut Yosef, when he writes over the halacha, he doesn't say to position the child in front of you, he says to hold the child. So certainly to hold the child during the tefillah, during the Shemona Esrei, during the Kriyat Shema, Psukei Zimra, would be asur lechatchila. Not just to hold the child, like all these other objects, lavdil, but also even to position the child next to in a situation where you're going to be preoccupied or distracted by them. When it comes to the Halachot of Shemona Esrei itself, the Halachot are even more strict in the sense that we cannot be mafsik whatsoever. As Mishnah Berurah writes, afilu biremiza. One may not even gesture. Once you're in the Shemona Esrei, then in general, one may not gesture. Talking for sure. A person, b'derech klal, it's hard to imagine a case unless it's pikuach nefesh or something like that, or some sort of danger, but you cannot be mafsik b'dibur in the Shemona Esrei, lechatchila, even to motion or to gesture. However, Mishnah Berurah does bring an exception, which would be if somehow you have a child who, I guess, either lechatchila you were allowed to position in front of you, or b'diavad you were in some difficult circumstance where you had no choice but to pray the proximity of the child, and the child begins to cry during the Shemona Esrei, so then what do? So then in that case, Mishnah Berurah writes that what you should do is you should in fact try to calm the child down with hand motions, biremiza, as opposed to using a hefsek of dibur, as opposed to interrupting the Shemona Esrei. Now, if that is not working, Mishnah Berurah writes, then instead of actually interrupting the Shemona Esrei to talk to the child, what you should do is you should actually distance yourself, put yourself away from the child so that you're not going to be distracted or preoccupied by that child during the Shemona Esrei. So I think for the most part today, a person in general has to make a hashara, make some sort of personal evaluation when bringing youngsters to Bet Knesset. Are they going to be in the category of distracting or preoccupying? I think we almost got away with it today, with the exception of the Thank You Hashem burst in the middle of the Uvalet Zion. But if the child can be pretty much relied upon not to interrupt or preoccupy, obviously a baby, a tinok, tinoket, an infant, sometimes it's very much in the category of preoccupying because there's no reasoning with them whatsoever. But in general, the Shlach HaKadosh brings down, this is Siman Tzadichet, the Shlach HaKadosh writes that in general, children should only be brought to the Bet Knesset where they're pretty much at the age of chinuch. Younger than that, he says, it's distracting for those who are trying to pray, and it might imbue in them sort of insensitivity to what Bet Knesset really is. I think everybody could really benefit from reviewing the halachot of the proper kavod of Bet Knesset. It's a place of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We modify how we speak in the Bet Knesset. We don't talk about personal needs. It's not a place for just behaving in a normal, relaxed fashion. There's a certain amount of decorum and respect which is due to the Bet Knesset. It's all halacha, it's not ashkafa. And when we bring children to the Bet Knesset, perhaps too young, the Shlach Kadosh is concerned that it desensitize them to the proper atmosphere of Bet Knesset. So in general, a person should keep these halachot in mind when bringing youngsters into a Bet Knesset.